Hey Disney Cruisers, and welcome back to the DCL community, where we are here to help you plan, prepare for, and get excited for your Disney cruise. You guys know me, I'm Rebecca, your host and admin of the DCL community, and today we are talking about staterooms, all things staterooms on board Disney Cruise Line, because you've decided that you want to go on a Disney cruise, but where the heck do you stay? What are the differences? Which stateroom should you sail in? That is what we are here to do today. And we have an expert of all experts to talk us through all of these. So as you're coming in, please say hello. Let us know where you're watching from so we can say hi. And Tammy, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Tammy, and I'm the owner of Storybook Destinations. I am also one of the co-authors of the Unofficial Guide to Disney Cruise Line with Lynn Testa and Aaron Foster. And the 2025 version is out now. 2026 will be out December 1st. You can pre-order it on Amazon now. But yes, that's what's keeping me busy these days.
Yes. Oh, I love it. And Tammy, you've sailed on more than your fair share of Disney cruises and across all the different staterooms. So if you are trying to figure out exactly what stateroom, and I know your entire team has too. So if you're trying to figure out exactly what stateroom, heck, even what ship to sail on, reach out to Tammy and her team. They're here to help. You might not know this, but their planning services are actually free for you to utilize. So reach out to them so that they can help pick the perfect room for you and your family, because every family is different. And we have some friends in Pennsylvania joining us, somebody from New York, somebody from Puerto Rico. Love that. So please let us know about any questions as we go through. But let's go ahead and dive into all things Disney Cruise Line staterooms.
Okay. All right. We will start with Stateroom 101 kind of thing here. First, Disney calls them staterooms. They do not call them cabins. Disney likes to be a little bit fancier, more elegant, more tasteful, whatever. And so they call them cabins. They call them staterooms. In general, they are a pretty good size. They, in general, cruise staterooms, if you're used to hotel rooms, are much smaller than hotel rooms. And, the first time you get in a stateroom, you might be surprised. But they are bigger than most other cruise lines that are out there, most mass ocean cruise lines that are out there. So they're a pretty good size. Their storage is pretty well. And so it might feel a little crowded people-wise if you've got the max number of people in there, but it's very doable and lots of places to put your suitcases and things like that. One thing about Disney Cruise Line that is different is their staterooms are the only ones that have bathtub standard in the staterooms. Other cruise lines, every single other cruise line, and I'm a big bathtub person, and so I'm very familiar with this. Every single other cruise line out there, you have to get up to a suite before you are getting a standard tub on the big ocean cruise ships. And so I love that the tubs are standard. They're in almost every single room. There's one category that's not, that we'll talk about in a minute. The first 4 ships that are out there, the color scheme is not the color scheme. It's a real nautical feeling to the decorations and the color schemes in the room. The next set of ships, the Wish class ships, those are themed after IP and movies, which is fun, which is a fun change, I think. And that's a general breakdown of the staterooms, the stateroom type differences here. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I love the updates. And I think so many people are so excited to see their favorite characters in the staterooms. I love the classic ships. I love the Dream Class too. And there's something that is classic ocean liner about it, but I really do the touches in the Wish class staterooms. I mean, even the blankets there, it's just so well done.
I agree. I think I say this a lot. We don't want every ship to be the exact same. There's no reason to have a carbon copy of the same ship. And so I think it's fun to change it up with the new ships, with the IP and movies in there for the staterooms. It's fun also if you're a big fan of one to pick the one that you want or your child wants, maybe more importantly.
Yes, absolutely. And I was going to say, we have a question about which staterooms are frozen. I was going to say, reach out to Tammy and her team, and they can get you booked in the exact right stateroom for your favorite prince or princess, or your kid's favorite prince or princess. Sorry, Tammy, you go ahead.
No, that's right. And we have a breakdown of each deck, which themes are on each deck, and down to each stateroom. We can tell you, we can pick exactly the theme that you want and help your family there. Okay, so in general, the staterooms are categorized with a number first and then a letter. The numbers 1 to 11, letters A to E. And in general, category, well, this is not in general, this is true. Category 1 is the nicest stateroom. So lower the number, the nicest category stateroom you have, the nicest and largest, I should say, down to category 11, which is the smallest inside stateroom. And then the A to E that follows after that, generally, A is generally a little bit more desirable than E. Not always. Sometimes I prefer some of the E's to the A's. But in general, it's usually least. So like A will be more midship than anything else. But when you get to concierge, that changes a little bit, and it's actually your whole room type is different with that A, B, C. But with the other categories, it's pretty much A is a higher deck, more midship, which Disney considers a little bit more desirable. So
good to know. I don't even think I realized that.
We're looking at an old version of my. Oh, sorry. We're looking at an old version of my PowerPoint here, so I missed one point on this version. If you're looking for a specific, you're trying to figure out which ship the stateroom is on, you look at the hundreds digit of the number of the stateroom. So the third digit from the right in the 100 slot there, if it's 1 or 0, did I get this right? I have it written down in PowerPoint. 1 and 0 is 5 and 6 is under. I think I lost you there for a second. Are you back?
Yeah. Sorry. I think my Wi-Fi might have cut out there, but yes. I think in general, the biggest question we get with sides of the ship is like, where's the ship docking? Where am I going to have the best view of Castaway or Lookout? Or, I mean, granted, the view of Lookout from that side of the ship you're not really looking at it the same way as Castaway. But do you care about those things when you're choosing a stateroom? Are those factors that you consider when talking to clients?
Yeah, I do. For Castaway especially, I do. And I always pick starboard for Castaway. It is a much prettier view. The port side is kind of a fun view, all the activity when you dock and see everybody getting on and off the ship and whatnot. So port's okay, but I prefer starboard. Starboard's a beautiful view in Castaway. And as you said in Lookout, and it's kind of a toss-up. It's not, you can look at the island, but it's not that exciting of a view. I know that Disney tries or their preferred side, I should say, is docking port side, so opposite of Castaway. But it's really current and wind dependent and all of that. So they often will book the other direction. So you can, if you really want to be able to see the island, book port side, but there's a decent chance you're going to guess wrong. I certainly have guessed wrong many times. You just don't know what's going to happen until the captain gets there.
Yes, I was going to say Mother Nature has plans of her own. And can you confirm that inside staterooms have themes too on the Wish class ships?
They do. Yes, they do.
Love that. Oh, so exciting. The Wish class ships, those rooms really are just so special. So let's talk through some of these FAQs, and I'm sure we're going to get more questions. I already see some more questions coming in, but let's start with the best staterooms for families.
Okay, so the larger the better in general when you're fitting a lot of people in there. If I have 4 or more people, I mean, I definitely would recommend a category, a family category. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, and 3 your concierge. 4 is that will sleep 4 or 5, and category 8 which are not on the Magic and Wonder. Category 8s are Oceanviews that sleep 4 to 5. And those are great even if you just have 4, because you're just going to get more space in there. It's not a giant difference, but it's a whole, width of a twin bed basically out a little bit further. So it's nice to have extra room, even if you don't have the maximum occupancy of people in there. So I'd say, you know, the biggest room you can afford is great. Not that you're going to spend that much time in your room, but if you can, you know, a bigger room is great. Lots of times it's nice to have 2 staterooms for a family. And even if you're in 2 inside staterooms, 2 of the smaller rooms, the great thing is that you're getting 2 bathrooms. And you have to go up pretty high into concierge. You get 2 bathrooms in your stateroom. So 2 staterooms is great for families. And because you can pick exactly which staterooms you're looking at, you know, you can make sure you're connecting. You can make sure you're right next to each other. Maybe you want 1 veranda, 1 inside room across the hall from each other. And sometimes 2 staterooms can be a little bit less than 1 stateroom, especially on the Magic and Wonder when they don't have that Oceanview option. Booking 2 inside staterooms can be less expensive than booking a veranda for 5 people. So we always check that as an option, just to let our clients know, you know, that if they want to go that route, they can. And like I said, we can make sure you're in connecting staterooms. I also love when the verandas connect. We've done that with our family too. Sometimes that's easier than walking through the middle of the room. You know, we'll just have the veranda open and we'll see if anybody's out there on their veranda, and we know the room is awake without, you know, going main door to wake everybody up. So yeah, we like the connecting verandas as well. If you want to have everybody in a row, that's great.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's such a good point. I forget that the verandas can connect. Not all verandas, right? There are some that can't.
Not all of them.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. And what about for those larger groups, those big family reunions? I know there are group cruises. I know you have a lot of experience with coordinating a lot of different families. So what's the recommendation here? Should we all stay right next to each other or spread out? What's the go-to?
That probably depends on your family. You may or may not want to all be right next to each other. If you want to all be right next to each other, that's another great option for those connecting verandas, because you'll only get 2 staterooms at the most that would connect, but the verandas you can get several in a row that will connect. I do like to say, if you don't need to be close to each other, or you've booked late, can't find several staterooms next to each other, the ship is not that large. And it's not like you're staying at a totally different resort like you would at Disney World. That can be pretty big, you know, pretty difficult to get to each other at times, inconvenient to get to each other at times. It's just a ship. It's not that big. So even if you're spread out, it's not a problem. I love when I have groups, family groups or group concierge. That is super helpful for getting large reservations for everyone for Palo, for everyone on the same dining. If somebody's staying concierge, they can help with a lot of those things. Now, if only one concierge, then, you know, everybody else can't go in the lounge or anything like that. They can't take advantage of a lot of the benefits. There are some things that concierge can help even with the people that are not staying there before you get on, like in that sense, getting everybody linked for dining and getting everybody a Palo reservation, hopefully together, things like that. It's a lot of help if at least one stateroom can stay concierge. But it's, you know, if you can't, it still totally works. But it is helpful if it happens.
Yeah, and another great point, another great reason why booking as far out as possible with these bigger groups is so important, because you can choose, you have more selection, and the price is typically better the farther out you book. So, you know, I know there's some hesitancy, you know, do we actually know that, you know, Uncle Bob is going to join us this cruise? But go ahead, get the deposit in. Tammy and her team can help coordinate all of that. And that way you can have your choice of staterooms rather than having to squeeze people in. And then what about, we get this question all the time about motion sickness and how you choose the best stateroom. I know I get really bad motion sickness. I'm usually pretty good on the cruises, knock on wood, but what recommendations do you have there?
So in general, motion sickness is better on midship and lower decks in general. Great. Now I say lower decks, but a lot of people don't like to get too low, as in you don't have a veranda that low, because for some people it does make them feel better to be able to step outside and get ocean air, get some fresh air into your room, or even to be able to see the horizon. So if you're really concerned it's your first time, I would go midship, you know, lower deck. But if you'll find out, for all except those real extremes of the ship, there's not a huge difference on board. So once you get your ceilings under you, you'll probably be fine in any of them. But yeah, if you're worried, I would go midship, lower deck.
Yes, that's so true. I feel that initial rock, I think it can throw people off. And that's when, if you have the patch or the bands or drama, but whatever you take to deal with that, you can have it with you. But you'll be surprised how quickly most people's bodies can acclimate. And I love that you have this question in here about what is the best deck. If I had $1 for every time I got asked that question, I could pay for the tower suite. So what is the best deck to sail on?
It's true. Okay, so I'll tell you what Disney would tell you. Disney would say that the higher deck midship is the most preferred. And that's why those are where they put their most, non-concierge included, that's where they put their most expensive rooms. That's where the A's are on those low number staterooms. It is, people in general feel like that's super convenient. Now, having said, I think it depends on what you want to be closest to. Because while those top decks are very convenient to the pool deck and a buffet up there and, walking around that top deck there, the lower decks are super convenient to the restaurants and to things happening in the grand hall and the atrium. When you come back on board after a port, instead of having to wait for an elevator to take you to deck 10, you might be able to just, zip right up to 2, if you're on 2. So it really depends on what you want to be closest to. I really don't, I like a lot of the decks. I don't have a problem low or high. So it depends on what you want to be near.
Oh, so true. Yeah. And I think something to remember here is what's perfect for my family doesn't have to be perfect for Tammy's family or your family. If you're watching, it's about a customized recommendation. That's where Tammy and her team come in and can help you because they know what's above and below. Are these staterooms connecting? And what does that potentially mean noise-wise if you have a toddler that's napping? There's so many things to consider. And that's why it's so good to have a conversation about these things. And speaking of some of those, what about the staterooms that you should avoid? Are there any that you just would never put one of your clients in?
Yeah, I wouldn't give you necessarily a specific stateroom itself to avoid, but general areas of the ship that I will avoid, although I've stayed in probably all of them at some point because I was assigned there or didn't know better, years ago. So I will say none of them are going to be that bad, but I generally avoid being underneath the pool deck. I don't like say on the Dream and Fantasy, I love deck 10 a lot of the times because depending on where you are under that pool deck, you can have a lot of noise from children running above you or the pool deck chairs. When they're setting up in the mornings, they're moving those pool deck chairs. They're dragging them a little bit. I mean, they're heavy, I understand. And so there's a lot of noise above you at times. So I tend to avoid the deck right under the pool deck if I can. And I also try to avoid being right above the theaters because the theaters you can hear that bass sometimes in the shows and in movies even at times. They don't go that late into the night, so it's not the end of the world. But if you're an early to bed person, you might want to keep that in mind if you're really, and you have to be really close. You have to be above it usually, even next, one over and above it isn't usually as nearly as loud as the other. And it's not bearable at all, but it can happen that you got some noise there. I also say if you don't need a connecting room, avoid a connecting room, which is very hard to do on the newer ships where they put so many connecting rooms for understandable reasons. But if you don't need one, especially on the Magic and Wand, try to avoid them because there are times we've been next to a louder family and those connecting doors are not that well soundproofed.
Yeah, as much as we would like for them to be, you're like, I don't want to really get to know my neighbors that well. So yes, that is such a good point.
Right.
You are not sure how to tell what staterooms are connecting, what verandas can go up or down. First of all, stay tuned. Tammy has pictures of all these different staterooms and the categories, and we're going to get into them. But again, have that conversation because, not all staterooms are alike. We'll just throw that one out there. And I see all these questions coming in. Keep the questions coming. I have a list going and we will get to all of these questions towards the end. But let's talk about concierge. I see Big Red leave Sunday for the Wish on Concierge for the first time here. So is Concierge worth it?
So I'm going to say yes, because I love Concierge and I love the Concierge. I won't spend a whole lot of time on here because we've talked about so much on other Zooms, but it is, you're paying more, and it's hard to say what's worth it to one person may not be worth to another person. And for me, it's absolutely worth it. And having said that, I've sailed many times not Concierge, and I've never felt like, steerage class. I've always been great in the non-concierge rooms, but when I can sail Concierge, do absolutely. And it's the amenities are wonderful. The hosts are wonderful. The staterooms are beautiful. The lounges are beautiful. The sun decks, and they vary by ship. I've got a detailed breakdown of this in the book of the different lounges. The Magic and the Wonder have lounges that were added several years after the ship started sailing, but they've done a really good job with them. I've heard the Magic they want to do some more to the Magic, even they don't have a big outdoor space like the other ships do, like the Wonder does. I don't know if they'll get around doing that on the Magic or not, but it's still, I love the lounge itself is very pretty. The Wonder, the lounge is very pretty. The Dream lounge was just redone. It was doubled in size. It's huge, and it's Hercules themed, and it's very, very pretty. The sun deck was expanded, very, very nice. The Fantasy is going to get that same makeover here in the fall, so it's about to be redone. And then the Wish class ships, their lounges are amazing, and they're huge, and you can order hot food for every meal in there. The sun deck is very large. There's 2 hot tubs out there. The Wish is lacking in hot tubs, some people would say in general. Yes, yeah. There's exactly one. And if you're a concierge, there's 2 more, and there's not very many people in there at all. So the lounge is a great way to add some more hot tubs into your sailing.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I know. So I've never sailed Concierge, but let me tell you, if you want to be convinced, Tammy is the one to do it. She has pictures of all the different suites, especially like the Aurora suites on, oh my gosh, like breathtaking, all the decor and all the perks too. And if you're sitting there like, what the heck are the perks for Concierge? Reach out to Tammy and her team. They can talk you through all of them, and you can decide if they're right for you. So let's start breaking down some of these recommendations in each category. And oh, I see that chandelier there. Oh my gosh, these ships are so beautiful. They're so beautiful. So let's start with a standard inside.
Yes, let's start with category 11. So this is the only category where there are no split bathrooms. And it's the only stateroom that has standard in the title. The rest of them are going to start saying deluxe, and the deluxe means there is a split bathroom. And a split bathroom, if you're not familiar with Disney, just means that there are 2 bathrooms. One of them has the sink and the toilet, and one of them has a sink and a bathtub and shower. And it's very convenient when 2 people are getting ready, especially. And it is, and when I'm describing these, the exceptions to these are accessible rooms for sure. There's a few odd exceptions here and there, but if these same rules do not apply to all the accessible rooms. So these are just the normal rooms. They all have split bathrooms once we get above this category, above 11. As far as some specific ones, on the Magic class, on the Magic and the Wonder, some of the staterooms are sideways, and you can find pictures of these online, and people really like the sideways staterooms, and you can tell which ones they are on the deck. I apologize, my version of PowerPoint, like I said, I came through with an old version here. We might find some typos here, but it does the screenshots of the deck plans. But if you look at the deck plans, you can tell pretty easily which ones are sideways, and people really like this on the Magic and Wonder. On the Dream, portholes, which I think are so great, and I'm real surprised they did not add those on the Wish class ships, and maybe that's a sign of how much they cost to keep. I don't know, but the virtual portal are a really neat touch for an inside room.
Agreed.
Did you have a question about it?
No, I just love them.
And then on the Wish class,
Sorry, I feel like it was such a miss not to have those on the Wish class ships. Everybody loves them. I feel like some people choose those inside rooms just for that. And I know I get the best sleep of my life in an inside stateroom. So having that kind of touch to the outside world is great. So I would love to see that in the next class of ships. Disney, if you're listening, just floating that out there. But sorry, you go ahead.
No, I agree. And for a while, when the Dream and Fantasy started sailing, the inside staterooms cost more than Oceanview because people loved those portholes. And so I think it's really interesting that they didn't carry them over.
Agreed.
You can see in that picture there, once the room is turned down, you can kind of see there on the left when the couch is folded down into the bed. That one does not have a drop down bed from the ceiling, but those are two inside to it. A version of a stateroom before it's made up for the night and after it's made up for the night, which of course your stateroom does for you. You don't have to worry about it. And they still have a curtain there that's separating the living area from the bedroom, the bed area. So you don't have to, you have a little more privacy from your kids or anybody that you're sharing a room with.
Yes, love that feature. And it's a pretty heavy duty curtain. It will block out some light. And what about category 10?
Category 10, still inside staterooms, but now we have split bathrooms. And interestingly, we were talking about no virtual portholes. Wish also does not have any category 10s. So all the Wish class, all class. So all of the inside staterooms on the Wish are not going to have split bathrooms. So
I think I learned something new tonight. Wow.
That's also an interesting choice that I can't really explain, but it is what it is. So yeah. Okay. And on the Magic, there are some really exciting ones that Magic ships. There are some really exciting ones, and these are called secret porthole rooms. And the secret porthole rooms were recategorized at some point. They were originally sold as Oceanview rooms because they do have an outside porthole. And you see in that picture there, there's a porthole there, but it's not anything outside. It's just a mirror there in general in those staterooms. And so there's an actual porthole that you can see outside in these secret porthole rooms, but they are so obstructed by lifeboats usually that people were pretty unhappy. They were paying the same price for that obstructed view as they were for the unobstructed ocean view rooms. And so Disney recategorized these rooms at some point, and they call them secret porthole rooms. So they're the same price as the category 10 staterooms, but there is a porthole. And like I said, it's an obstructed view, but you still have a view and you still get natural light in there. These staterooms are super popular. So if you want them, you need to book them immediately, especially in places like Alaska and things like that, where the view outside is so important. You got to book them early because people love these staterooms. And you're traveling, we know what these staterooms are, and we can help you find them and grab them on that first day. On the Dream class, the staterooms are these Oceanview are pretty equal. The only ones that I might avoid are I have them listed there: 5015 and 5515. They're very close to Vibe, which just means you're going to get more teenagers outside. It's not usually a problem, but if you're looking for something to avoid, those are normally the ones I would avoid.
Yeah, those teens, I feel like in general they're okay, but you get some rowdy ones going by when you're trying to take a nap. If there are other options to consider, and yes, we're going to be going through these for all the different categories. So stay tuned. I see some questions about other ones on some of the other ships. So yes, let's chat category 9.
Okay, category 9, now outside views. And you can see in the picture there, that's the porthole. There are some bigger portholes depending on the class of ship, but you do have a porthole with outside views there. And in some places, especially like Alaska, you will find those have a drastic price reductions from veranda staterooms. But still, you have a great view of the outside there, so you can look outside and see wildlife and things like that. So it's a nice ocean views. We've done ocean views for many years in our family. We really enjoy them. The one I would avoid on the Magic class, deck 1. There are some that are on deck 1. I don't love those at all. Those do not have one large round porthole. They have 2 small ones, and they're fairly small and they're higher up. And so you can't really sit and look at them. You're especially not for shorter people like myself. They're not as comfortable to look at, and they're smaller, as I said. So I don't love those on deck one. I would absolutely upgrade to deck two if at all possible on those. Some special ones in Magic class there are 2504 and 2510. They're all the way forward, and they have, because of the curvature of the ship up there, they've got some pretty good space in their rooms. So I tend to gravitate towards those most quickly. The Dream class, I really like 9Bs. I think I don't know if I mentioned this before or not. I love deck two. Oh yeah, there's one of my typos that I fixed in the other version. I really like deck two on Dream class. It's we have found deck two to be very convenient to everything down there. It's right there by Enchanted Garden. It's just there's multiple staircases to get you up in the atrium, and so I really like the 9Bs down there. The Oceanviews down there, and then also there's some 9Ds that are in on deck 7 and 8, and in the corner, and that I listed the numbers there, and they're larger because of the curvature of the ship again. So those are great for the Dream class. And then the Wish class, same thing. 9Ds have some large. There's some 9Ds on the very front, and I'm sorry I don't have a screenshot. There's some 9Ds on the very front, and they're slanted, but they have a really neat view off the front of the ship. And there's some that are very large on the corners because they're on that corner, very large. And if you look at your deck plans for the Wish class, you'll see 7006. I have this listed. 7504. Those are quite large rooms.
Ooh, okay, that is definitely good ones. Those are definitely good ones to look out for. And I know you mentioned, and we have the question now about Alaska, and do you need a veranda for Alaska? So how do you talk through that with your clients? You know, Alaska can definitely be a little bit of a more expensive sailing in comparison. So do you need a veranda to have a great Alaska cruise?
So yes and no. There is a big price jump from Oceanview to Veranda in Alaska, and so if your choice is not going or going in an Oceanview, then absolutely go in the Oceanview. It is better, or inside. It's better to be there than not be there at all. But if you can jump up to a veranda, it's great to be able to, you hear people, somebody sees a whale. Sometimes the captain or someone will come on and say, there's a whale coming up on the port side. We're about to pass it. The whole ship will run to that side if they're outside. And sometimes somebody in your family may just be looking out the window and say, there's one, you all run to the window and look. So it's very nice to be able to do that from your room. You also aren't that far from going to one of the decks, outside decks, whether it's up top deck 4, running out there and looking from there. So it's not essential, but it is nice to have.
Yes, yeah. If you can do it, go for it. If it's not in the budget and you would rather spend money on port adventures, that's fine too. There's lots of good options there. And somebody, let's see, where was that question? Ashley's saying, you mentioned something about jutting out. I've heard of bump out rooms. Are those the same? I guess the ones that kind of extend.
Bump out rooms. Yeah, the bump out rooms, we are not going to have any bump out rooms until we get to category 5. But yes, we will. I will recommend some bump out rooms that are and they do. Your veranda is bigger on those bump out rooms. So that's my go-to. Spoiler for what's coming. That's my go-to on 5s and 4s. When I can be on that bump out, that's what I'm going to do.
Love that. Okay, let's go over to category 8.
Okay, category 8. There are no category 8s on the Magic class. When Disney built the Magic and Wonder, they underestimated a family size, and the cheapest option for a family of 5 is category 4. And so they realized that's price prohibitive a lot of the time for 5 people. And so they built these category 8. They built these category 8s they introduced that when the Dream class and carried on through the Wish class. And they sleep up to 5. And you see the porthole there is quite large, and you can sit in them, and their rooms are bigger. You can also see at the end there's a Murphy bed pulled down from the wall, so they will sleep up to 5. And I don't have my recommendations for that are on the Wish. And really the category 8s are all great. We're going to talk about a special category 8 on the next slide, but the regular category 8s, I avoid deck 6, the deck 6 aft. They're just because they're right above Arendelle or, Coco or, on all the Wish class ship. And it can be a little bit loud during the 2 dinner times. But other than that, category 8s are great.
So love that call out. Yes. Thinking about what's around you, not just the room, is so important. And what is I see why you like this one. I've never stayed in one of these before. This is cool.
These are super popular too, and there are not very many of them. There are 12 of them. This is 8A, and the 8A, they're only on the Dream. This is another thing they didn't carry over into the Wish class ships. They did different things, and I kind of understand this one a little bit more. But category 8As are found on the Dream and Nessie, and that looks like 2 staterooms, picture of 2 different staterooms there, but that's the same stateroom. And several of them, they're all set up a little bit differently. I should say they're not all the same. And some of them don't have bathtubs. Some of them don't have a dividing wall. But it's still really large. It's just a little bit differently. Some have a pole in the middle. But some of them have actual dividing wall, and they all have those 2. You can't see one of those giant portholes, but they have 2 giant portholes in them. And some of them have tubs, some of them don't have tubs, some of them have that dividing wall, and some don't. I put my favorites there. There are 4 of the 12 because they have a dividing wall and tub in them. But if you don't care about the tub and you want to divide them, there's a few different options for those 8As. But these are great staterooms, all very, very popular.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that. What a fun configuration. I can just imagine if I got a guarantee rate room and walked into one of these, I would be so, what a surprise. And what about category 7?
I would be very excited. So category 7, on the Magic and the Wonder, they're very different. The category 7, they're called Navigator's verandas, but really only the Magic and the Wonder have what we generally picture when we picture a Navigator's veranda. And that's the top picture there. It's an enclosed veranda with a cutout in the middle. The side of the ship is all metal. They cut out some holes there, and it's an actual veranda. You're outside of your room. You close the door and you're outside of your room, but it's mostly enclosed except for that porthole there. I know a lot of people have said they really like these for Alaska. And that's because they're sheltered from the wind, and so they feel like they can sit out there when they're sailing and whatnot. They're not my favorite because you can't see when you're sitting down again. If you want to sit out there and watch, you can't really do that as easily. But they are really neat verandas. They're very nautical decor. They're really neat, and some people really do like them. Those are only on the Magic and the Wonder. And once you get up to the other, I did put 4 on there that are not fully enclosed. But once you get up ships, they still have something called a Navigator's veranda, but they do not, they're not fully enclosed. They're more like the picture on the bottom. They just have large obstruction there. And so they cost a little bit less than obstructed veranda. And but they do have that there. And so you just have to be aware of that when you pick them out. I put a couple there that have very large verandas on the Dream class, and the Wish class. The category 7s on deck 6 are a little bit less obstructed than category 7, just because of the way the ship is no particular. Nothing to do with the actual staterooms. The staterooms inside are going to be the same, but just because of the way the ship is constructed, the obstruction's not going to be as large.
So that's such a good call out there. And we have this question about how many chairs are on the verandas.
There are 2 on almost all verandas. All normal verandas, there's going to be 2. And most of the Navigator's verandas, I think they're all like this. One side's built in, one side's a chair. But either way, there's 2 seats out there. In general, some of the really large verandas may have 2 lounge chairs and 2 regular chairs. They may have, multiple lounge chairs depending on the size of if it's an oversized veranda for some reason, but otherwise pretty much every single one's going to have 2 plus a table.
Yeah. Yes. Good point on the table out there. Yeah. Just so nice, morning coffee out on the veranda. I don't drink coffee, but the idea of it sounds really nice to go out there, enjoy my hot chocolate out on deck.
Yes.
But what about category 6?
All right, category 6 is we're still in the slightly obstructed category of verandas, and on all of these 6, 7s and 5, 6, 7s, the stateroom pretty much the same. They're pretty much the same, but the verandas are generally the same size with some exceptions that I recommend. But there are once we get to 5, we're unobstructed. 7 is most obstructed. 6 is a little bit less obstructed. So on the Magic class, there are 6 staterooms that have wide wall veranda. What that means is that the wall of the veranda, the middle of the veranda, is going to come all the way up to the railing there, and so you can't see underneath the railing. That's just, again, part of the middle of the outside of the ship. There are some that have slightly larger verandas, and I listed those there: 6652, 6650, and 6648. Those are my picks. I like them in that order. I also am going to avoid recommending any accessible staterooms. And when I'm giving you blanket, if you need an accessible staterooms, we certainly know which ones to avoid. But when I'm giving broad, favorites here to you, I'm going to avoid those, so you can save those for the people that need them. But the 3 that I just listed are not accessible, and they have nice size verandas. On the Dream class, the category 6 staterooms, it's a very, very minor obstruction. It's usually like 18 inches above the ground is a little bit of metal on the bottom. It's not fully unobstructed, so Disney listed them as a 6 instead of a 5. But there are 2 of them that are on the far aft, and I love far aft staterooms because they have giant verandas. And so there's 2 of them that Disney did not recategorize into category 4s. They did recategorize a lot of these with giant verandas into category 4s, but they did not these 2, and it's 6188 and 6688. And then on the Wish class, on the Wish class, there are 2 in particular, 8192 and 8690. They have huge verandas. Although they're interesting, the stateroom is really small, and they are the only staterooms that I know of, with the exception of accessible, that don't even have a couch. The stateroom is real small. They have a chair. All they have is a bed and a chair. Yeah, they're very different. They're very, very different. But the veranda is huge. So if the veranda is your priority, but they do have a chair. The chair will fold out. But yeah, there's no couch.
My mind is blown. I did not know that. That is crazy. I learned something new every day. And we have a question here from Tiffany. How do I know which staterooms have the bunk bed that folds down from the ceiling? My kid would love that.
So we can help. Your travel agent should be able to help, and we know exactly which ones have the pull down. There's a few ways to tell. If you're searching there and you pick a specific stateroom, if you read the description after you've selected a specific stateroom, if you read the description, it will tell you exactly what's in the room. And Disney's updated their website in the last year. It includes these descriptions, which has been super helpful. But also, that way you can ask your travel agent. You can also, if you're looking for a stateroom that sleeps 4, meaning it would have the pull down, but you only have 3, put 4 in there in your search. And if it comes up, it means it's got that pull down. If it doesn't come up in the search, that means it does not have that, and only 3 people can sleep in that stateroom.
That is a good travel hack. See, pro tip right there. That is so good. And if you're just traveling with 3 and you want the bunk bed taken down instead of the couch, is that something that you have to request ahead of time, or can you just ask?
Yeah, your stateroom host will often come by. I mean, you'll definitely see them that first day, and they'll often ask you, do you want the pull down? Do you want the couch made out? I know if there's only 2 people in the stateroom, they'll usually ask, do you want a bed folded down, or are you both going to sleep in the regular bed? So they will know how to make up the bed every night, and they will do it with no problem.
Love that. Yeah, they are the best. Okay, what about category 5?
Okay, category 5. This is what most are picturing. This is, your standard, normal. I'll use that word. Normal veranda staterooms, and this is what you picture when you picture a veranda and you picture and the stateroom inside. There's no real bad options at all of this, but on the wish class, I do love those bump outs that we were talking about before, and the bump out in general in the middle. And I'm so sorry I don't have the screenshot. It would have been so helpful. The bump outs in general in the middle of the bump out are category 4s. So they're the slightly more expensive stateroom, slightly larger staterooms. But as you get closer to the edge of the bump outs, you can see you find some 5s, which are less than the 4s. They don't sleep as many, and the room's a little bit smaller. It's still a good size. It just doesn't have that extra space there. But the veranda is bigger because of that bump out. So when I'm looking for a category 5, that's my first choice. Is I go right to those bump outs and try to get to see if there's any edges of those bump outs that are right next to those 4s, but they're only category 5s.
Love that.
There are two category 5s on the wish class 2 that are all the way aft at 6198 and 6698. These are 2 of those that they kept as a category 5, and they have huge verandas again. So I love those.
Yes, more in the veranda department, and never a bad thing. There's just nothing. There's nothing like those sunrises and sunsets at sea. You cannot beat it. And what about category 4?
Right. So category 4, you can see them there on the bottom picture. There in the left-hand corner, you'll see the pull-down bed there, and that's about how much longer your room is than the other staterooms, category 5, 5 and down usually. So these are called, when they put the word family in there, that means it can usually sleep 4 to 5. And also we saw those back in category 8. On the Magic class ship, this is the least expensive option for a family of 5. I like Starboard if you're going to Castaways, we've talked about. The 4, you have some white walls in them on the Magic class. On the Dream and the Fantasy, they have category 4Es are interesting because they do not survive. They're not as long as the other category 4s, but they're on the part of the ship they're on. They have really, really large verandas, not just long, they're really large verandas. And so they're a little bit different than most of the category 4s on the Dream and the Fantasy. Like I said, they're not as long, and also they don't have round tubs. On the Dream and the Fantasy, the most of the category 4s have round tub there, but they do not in the 4Es. They're a little bit different than the other 4s. I've stayed in them before. I like them a lot because of that veranda, but they are a little bit different than the other 4s. And then on the Wish class ships, on the Wish class ships, the category 4s and the bump outs are great. As I mentioned, the middle of the bump out's going to have the largest veranda, but they're a little bit bigger. I mean, they'll get a little bit smaller as they go out, but they're still a good size. And then this is a very exciting thing that we first learned about on the Disney Wish, and I call them secret suites. And they are the same price as the stateroom right next to them. That's the exact same category. If there is one next to it, the same category, but they are set up like a suite. These are such great rooms. I wouldn't be shocked if Disney recategorized them at some point, but they haven't yet. And the Wish has been out there for several years. But in the Wish class ships, you can see if you look at a deck plan, there's back in the corners 6196 and 6696. They're category 4s, but they're set up like a secret suite. And I call them a suite because there is an actual door that closes to the bedroom. There is a living area and a door to the bedroom. Yeah, I mean, that's a suite. That's a suite to me. So, yeah, there's a few of these that are kind of unadvertised suites. Those are 2 of them.
Yes. Oh my gosh. This is why you work. I mean, there's many reasons to work with Tammy and her team, but this stuff right here, you guys know everything, absolutely everything about these staterooms. And I just went backwards there. So let's go up to, and then I went too far. Category 3B.
3B. So now we're in the Concierge. And these, I keep saying some of these are my favorite staterooms. Category 3B is absolutely one of my favorite staterooms. I stay in these rooms. I've stayed so many times. I'm staying in one for the Destiny Maiden Voyage. I love them. There's only 7 of them. They're only found Wish class ships, 3Bs, and they are they no veranda for Disney. There's no veranda on them. Now, I don't mind that at all. I've stayed in several verandas. I don't mind that at all. They make up for the lack of veranda with the incredible views off the front of the ship. And you can see one there. They're spread out along the front. And so the front middle has the most straightforward centered view of the ship, and out the front. They're beautiful. They go all the way from floor to ceiling. It's an oversized room. It's bigger than the 3As, which are right above it. And there's 2 chairs over on the side of your room. The rooms are huge with beautiful views, and I love them. There is a secret suite here too. There's 2 secret suites. One of them is accessible, so I won't recommend that one, but the second is not accessible. It is the same price as the 3B right next to it, but it's a massive living room with a door that closes off the bedroom. So I love that room as well.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and this is another.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I say this is another one that I wouldn't be shocked if Disney recategorizes them at some point, just because they often cost more than the 3As because they're so popular. But
yeah, I've seen some of the stories that you've posted with these views, and they are breathtaking, especially as you're pulling in and out of port when the sun is rising or setting. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love a veranda, but those views are just breathtaking. And we have a question from Jared. If I need an accessible stateroom, do I have to show proof? Where would I upload that, or who do I send it to?
You do not need to show proof. And you can, there are different types of accessible staterooms. Like, do you need a roll-in shower? Do you need hearing? Is it hearing accessible stateroom? There's different types, and we can help you find the one that you need. You do not have to show proof of it.
Yes, definitely reach out to Tammy and her team. So what about these 3As?
So 3As are just the normal. Every other ship has the 3. They all have 3As, but on the Magic and Wonder, the 3A was the least expensive entry into Concierge here. And so on the Magic and Dream class ships and Wish class ships, actually all of them. I'm sorry, not Wish class ships, because like I said, sometimes the 3Bs cost more than the 3As. But in general, the 3As are the least expensive, and they're almost set up exactly like the Category 4s, that family Oceanview. But there's upgraded linen, there's furnishings, and there's upgraded bathrooms and bathroom products and things like that. And you get access to the Concierge Lounge and all of it. So it's in general for the entry level into Concierge, with the exception of the Wish class, which have those out the veranda. The Dream class, I like. When you say bump outs are huge, not even like the Wish bump outs on the side. These bump outs are in the front of the ship, and a couple of them have really huge verandas because of their location on the bump out. So I put the numbers there. Those are my recommendations for Dream class ships.
Oh my gosh. And any extra space is always a good thing. And yeah, having those upgraded linens in the room and the upgraded amenities in the bathroom. I mean, it's the little things that just make Concierge special. And what about the 2Bs, or not 2Bs?
The 2Bs are 1-bedrooms, and on the Magic class, there's pretty big difference between the 2As and the 2Bs. I love the 2As. I think I talk about them on the next slide. So we'll hold off on that. But these are 1-bedrooms. They are lots of space. On the Dream class ships, bathtub is huge. On the Wish class ships, the bathtub, there's a picture of the tile work behind the bathtub there on the top right corner picture. Beautiful, beautiful. So I put my recommendations for the 2As there and 2B. I'm sorry, for the 2Bs there. And for the Wish class, they're really very equal. We're going to pick, if you want to be closest to the lounge, go to deck 12. If you want to be most convenient to the sun deck, do 13. Stairs in the lounge that you can easily connect to either one. But if you want to just be able to walk out to the sun deck or walk into the lounge, that's how I would pick which stateroom I'm there.
Love that. And man, if any Imagineers want to come over and put that mosaic in my bathroom, I would be in for it. That's just absolutely stunning. And what about the 2As
That's
here?
very true. So the 2As are, they're interesting because on the Magic Class, the 2As, they're still one bedroom suites, but on the Magic Class, they're set up very differently. They're in the middle of the ship. They are set up almost more of a sideways design, and the pull down bed is in the living room, and on the 2Bs, the pull down bed is in the bedroom on the Magic Class. So that's not ideal if you're sleeping with your kids and you can't shut off the room there. And also the living room on these 2As in the Magic Class is huge. It's really, really big as compared to the 2Bs. So I put those numbers down there. And then on the Dream Class, there is exactly one. There is one on each, one on the Dream and one on the Fantasy. It's stateroom 12,000. And it is located in between the Roy Disney Suite and the Walt Disney Suite. And it's right there in the middle. And sometimes Concierge will hold it back and won't even let anyone book it until they make sure that the person in the Roy or the Suite don't want it. And then they'll release it later. So sometimes it will show up later if you are looking for it and you don't see it. But it is it's the same size as all of the other 2As or 2Bs on the Dream and the Fantasy. But the veranda is huge, and you can see the top right corner there. That's the veranda on that 2A there on the Dream Class. And the pic on the left there is actually the hallway that if you have the Roy Disney Suite and this 12,000 booked, or the Walt Disney Suite and this 12,000, they open up this hallway. So you basically have made your stateroom this giant, all of them together, this giant space for all of you that you can just go between without going out in the hallway. You have your own private hallway there.
Yeah, you almost have your own mini concierge lounge in your stateroom with all that space. I love that.
It's true. And then the Wish Class, there's only 2 of them, and they're both great. I would pick either one.
Oh, love that. Keeps it easy on that one. And then what about these guys? Yeah. Concierge 2-bedroom suites. I know these are definitely going to be appealing for those bigger groups, adults, maybe like multiple adult parties. I'm thinking you're traveling together, but you still want your space. If you just want some space from your kids. So talk to us about these guys.
Yes, this one is the only one that is not the Magic and the Wonder are the only ships that have this category. There are some 2-bedroom suites on the Wish Class ships, but those are royal suites. This is just a 2-bedroom suite. I say just, it's a massive room, but it's a 2-bedroom suite. It is Concierge, of course, but it's a 2-bedroom suite. It's large. It's 905 square feet. It's got 2 bedrooms. It's got 2.5 bathrooms, and this one sleeps more than almost every concierge room on Class ship. This one sleeps a lot of people. It sleeps 7 people. Yeah, but the one difference between it and some of the 2 bedrooms on the Wish Class ship, the Royal Suites, there's no hot tub on the deck. The veranda, it's an older ship, and there's no space out there for a hot tub. That's not what they were doing back when they. But you can see it's been updated through the years. That's the living room in the bottom right, and a beautiful standalone tub. So there's 2 of them. These are both great.
Oh my gosh. I was going to say, for the inside of those rooms alone, forget about the veranda. And what about the Royal Suites?
So the Royal Suites, there are Royal Suites on every ship. On Magic Class, they're 1As is their designation. They're over 1,000 square feet. There's 2 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, and they sleep 7. And they have a very long veranda similar to the one that we saw on the last screen. And again, no hot tubs, but you can see they've been updated. They are beautiful, open rooms. You can have a large group in there.
Love that. Oh my gosh, they're so pretty. Goals. They are.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then 1B, these are the Royal Suites on the Dream and the Fantasy. And the picture on the right, they have redone that bathroom there on the Dream, and the Fantasy will also get the same upgrade. It's white, and it's very similar, but it's white and not such dark marble and whatnot. But the room itself looks pretty much the same. These are very big. I think, I would guess, without having an exact breakdown, I think these verandas on the Dream and the Fantasy here, I think they're the biggest verandas of any stateroom on any ship. They are very, very large. They have a hot tub. They have a table and 6 chairs. They have lounge chairs. We like to say you can land a helicopter on those verandas. They're so big. There are
awesome.
There's 2 of them, and the way you pick which one you want is in 12,002, the floor-to-ceiling windows are in the master bath and the primary bathroom, and on the side of the ship in 12,502, the floor-to-ceiling windows are in the primary bedroom. And so, do you want more light in the bedroom or the bathroom? And either way, plenty of privacy. It's that frosted glass that you just click a switch and it's instantly frosted. But it just depends on how you want it set up. For the other people sleeping in the room, these sleep 5. Am I saying that right? Yes, these only sleep 5, and it's interesting because the one we just saw, it sleeps 7 on the Magic and the Wonder, but these only sleep 5. So there's 2 in the primary bedroom, and there's a pull down double and a pull down single, and they're right out here in the living area. But they put curtains around both of them, very heavy curtains, and they were actually I've slept out there before, and it's actually a lot of privacy. And there's storage, there's plugs behind your bed. They do a good job with those extra sleeping spaces there.
That's awesome. And what an efficient use of space. They still give everybody their own kind of corner of the room, but just utilizing that space. And gosh, that couch looks comfortable. I feel like I could take a nap on that couch. And I see that bottle of Autumn Blue on the table. It was waiting for you. I love it.
Yeah. Okay, and then the Wish class, it has 2 types of royal suites. It has a 2-story royal suite and a 1-story royal suite. Here, the 1-story royal suite, and there are 2 of them. They are on the far aft of the ship, so they're nowhere near the concierge lounge, which we did not find to be a problem at all. You look at that veranda. We spent so much time out there that they're hard to drag off the veranda, and so we weren't worried about not being a long way. Concierge lounge. The concierge host also brought us anything we wanted. They came by in the evenings and brought us drinks if we wanted any drinks. The real highlight, laying in the bed there in that middle picture on the right and opening the electronic curtain of your bed with these gorgeous views of Castaway or wherever you happen to be. So pretty. There's 2 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. They sleep 6. With really, really neat rooms.
Wow. And I'm sorry, the concierge host brought you drinks on a trolley? That is awesome.
Oh, they did. They did.
My
yeah,
gosh,
and we always
about
our hot tub didn't close. Our hot tub, we spent hours in our hot tub, and it didn't close at 10 o'clock. We got to stay out there as long as we wanted. So
Oh my gosh, yeah, especially if you're a social cruiser, having a stateroom with a veranda that has a hot tub, it extends the life of the cruise, because you don't have to necessarily coordinate with when the pool deck is closing down and when things are happening. You can order room service and enjoy it in the hot tub. Oh my gosh.
that's right.
Okay. And what about the other types? I can't get over these staircases. They're straight out of a dream.
Yes. The 2-story, it does. The staircase feels very luxurious. It's beautiful. It's 2 bedrooms as well, 3 bathrooms. It sleeps 6, and it does have a very large veranda with a hot tub. They're both great. There's either one. There's 2 of them on each of the Wish class ships. I couldn't recommend either one, because I would recommend either one because both of them are amazing and beautiful.
Yes, you cannot go wrong with any of the suites on board the Wish class ships. They're just gorgeous. Oh, and speaking of the suites, the suite of all suites, the Tower Suite.
Yes, the last category 1A. And there are category 1As on the Wish class ships and all the Dream class ships. And the Fantasy Tower has not been built yet, but it will be built this fall when it goes into dry dock. You can book it now for when it comes out of dry dock in the late fall. But they are great spaces for large groups. There are 4 bedrooms, 4.5 bathrooms. They're all set up very similarly, and they each have a different theme. I will say the Fantasy and the Dream have the same theme, which I'm not quite sure why they did that, but they're beautiful. But the Dream and the Fantasy will have the same theme. On the Treasure, it's an Epcot theme. There you see Figment and Spaceship. Spaceship Earth is amazing. Lights up when that lit Spaceship Earth down there is so great. There's no veranda. A lot of people hate that idea. Having sailed in them, I will say the idea of not having it is a lot worse than actually not having it. It's perfect for a large group. We had lots of people in our rooms all the time. We were sailing with friends, and I didn't miss having a veranda at all. But yeah, I love the Tower Suites.
Yes, they're so beautiful. Every detail is taken care of. And Megan's asking, I've heard that the suites have Mickey bars. Is that actually true, or do you have to order them?
The Royal Suites all do. You open up that freezer. They're full-size fridges, and you open up that freezer, and it is full of Mickey bars. And if you run low, they will bring you more.
Yes. Oh my gosh. If that is a motivator, you have to get a suite. I'm deciding for you. And okay, let's Dream Fantasy. What do those look like?
This one is the Dream Tower Suite, and the Fantasy will look the same from what we understand. And you can see there's the library. The kitchen is very open. You can see the fridge there, that dark space in the top middle picture. That's the fridge with the freezer underneath. The fridge is stocked with all kinds of juices. They bring some fresh made juices today, and it's stocked with all your soda, milk, anything like that. There are also a wine cooler that is stocked. They will put Cloudum in it. They will put anything. That's all included. To the point, that's all included. And the Mickey bars, as you mentioned before. And in these suites, they have these huge tables where you can order Palo, you can order from the main dining rooms.
Ooh, oh my gosh, yeah. So if you want that exclusivity, if you want that privacy, the suite is the way to go. Having Palo delivered to my stateroom, dream come true. Oh my gosh, right. Sorcerer Mickey is so stinking cute there. Do you have some time for some rapid fire questions? I've been taking a list down of different questions. Okay, let's start with recommendations for solo travelers.
Okay, so Disney does not. There are some cruise lines that have some solo rooms out there. Disney does not. And so you're going to pay a double occupancy rate for one person. You're going to pay about the same as you would have for 2 people. My first recommendation is, if you are traveling with anyone else, first, just so everybody can save a little money, put somebody else in your room just for the cost. And they do not have to sleep in your room at all, but put somebody else in your room just to share the cost. You're paying for 2 people anyway, especially if you've got someone else that has 3 people in their stateroom, like maybe grandmom's in one room and mom and dad and grandbaby are in the 3rd room. Put that grandbaby in with grandmom, even if they don't stay there, just because then you take off that 3rd person charge and they're basically free in that 1st room there. And then, so everybody saves a little bit of money if you happen to be traveling with other people, just not staying in your stateroom. But otherwise, for a solo traveler, stateroom wise, the limit, whatever type you want to get.
Yes. And we had a question about sailing with little ones, and do they put bars up on the bed? Worried about mine rolling off. She moves a lot. And I think we could probably touch on, pack and play situation too, and what all you can get ahead of time.
Yeah, they do. They do put bars up, and you can, if you say you had 2 little ones, you didn't want anyone sleeping on that top bunk, even though there are bars there. If you got a room that slept 4 and you made sure it had the Murphy fifth pull down bed, then everybody could be, you know, kind of on a ground level bed. But there are pack and plays available, as Rebecca mentioned, and those will set up right in your room. It's a time when having a bigger room is nice, so to be able to step around it and whatnot. But they do a pretty good job of tucking those pack and plays away back in there. But there's no cost for them, and you can absolutely order one if you're more comfortable with them being in that.
Love that. And speaking of comfortability, can adults sleep on the bunk beds, trying to keep costs down, but worried we won't be comfortable?
Yes, I have. I am not tall. I am only 5'2", so I have no problems on the bunk bed, on the bunk or on the couch. But they're going to get a little bit uncomfortable the taller you get. When you're up to 6 feet, that would be difficult to sleep on the bunk bed for sure. They are, as far as length goes, comfort. The pull down on the Wish class ship are a little bit harder. Maybe they're just not broken in quite as well. But I will say, if you're on any of those beds and they're not comfortable enough, there are a limited number of foam toppers that you can ask them to put in your room. And once they do that, like if you're, I've seen on the couch before pulled down into they put the foam topper on, but then they can't take it off every night and make it back into a couch. So if you ask for that foam topper, it will make it more comfortable, but it's going to stay a bed the rest of the sailing. So if that doesn't bother you and it didn't bother us, and that is an option as well. They're not unlimited. They only have a few on board, but if they're available, you can ask for that as well.
Yes. And just personal note there, I very recently slept on one of the bunks, and I'm just a smidgen under 6 feet tall, the shortest one in my family, if you can believe it. I do tend to curl up when I sleep, but I had no issues comfortability wise on them. My back didn't hurt, nothing like that. So I wouldn't worry. But like Tammy said, if the taller you are, you might want that additional space. And we have a question from Ashley. I see that Disney can choose a room. Looks like good savings, but worried about the location. Would you recommend letting them pick it?
That is interesting. I just wrote a blog post for the Unofficial Guide asking about that exact same question. Do you want them to pick it or do you not want them to pick it? There's different reasons, and saving money is one reason that, you may be fine with them picking it. There's sometimes where I would not want them to pick it, but it's not so much I'm worried about the location or the type of room, the specific room type, because if I'm on the ship, there's nothing that bad, as I mentioned before. There's nothing that it's like, oh, this is just a horrible room. They're all similar. There's just different locations. There's different, slightly better locations. So if I'm going to save a lot of money, I have no problem letting them pick my stateroom. If I wouldn't want them to, some of the times I wouldn't want them to is if I was traveling with other people and I really wanted to be next door, or I really wanted to have this close to them, no, I would move to a category where I could pick my actual stateroom. But in general, there's nothing too bad they're going to put me in. If you're saving a lot of money and you're not trying to coordinate some of these other things, then yeah, I'd absolutely let them pick.
Yeah. And I've noticed, I'm curious if you've noticed it too. It seems like lately I'm seeing some of the, guarantee rate, which I know there's like the guarantee and the guarantee with restrictions, and there's some differences there, but it might only be a savings of like $12. So at that point, you talk through with your travel agent. You might want to have a little bit more control over it. But yeah, if you have significant savings, I'm with Tammy all day. Let them choose it if that's easy enough for you. And can we quickly touch on the difference between the guarantee and the guarantee with restrictions?
Yes, they are very different, and it's because the names are so similar, people get them confused. GTY is a term that Disney and many others in the cruise industry use when a category is almost full. They will not assign those last few. Let's say, and it's a very specific category. Let's say the 4Bs are almost full. There's 3 4Bs that haven't been assigned yet. They'll let 3 people book they'll book 3 more 4Bs, but they don't want them to choose a specific stateroom. And that is because they may upgrade, they may move you around if they decide that they don't book them to count on upgrades, but they just want a little bit of flexibility there with those last few rooms. There's no savings to those. And sometimes it will look like there's savings, but that's just because the only other veranda available is a 4A, which costs a little bit more. So it'll be like, oh, if I get the 4, I'm going to save money. It's really not a savings. You're paying the same that the other 4Bs paid, the last few 4Bs paid. There's no savings on those. There's also no restrictions on those. Those are just a booking. You don't have to pay in full when you book them unless you are really close to sailing. You don't, you can make changes, all of that. Those are totally different than discounted rates. The discounted rates are IGT, VGT, and OGT. And those are guarantee rooms, and the key word there is with restrictions. And if you see the word with restrictions, that means that is a discounted rate. And in there, you can't pick a 4B, a general 4B, a general 4A. You are just picking an IGT, just means any inside stateroom. You don't know what kind, what specific type. You can just pick an, are you going to get deluxe or you're going to get a standard? You don't know. You have no say in that whatsoever. OGT, Oceanview guarantee, and VGT, veranda guarantee. So you're just picking a very broad category type, and you're saving a lot of money, but you are giving up some flexibility. You can't make any changes once you've booked it. You're paying in full. You cannot cancel. You cannot move. And so those are the differences. And one of them does save you quite a lot. The other one, if you are worried at all about, if you want it all to save you, to pick your particular stateroom or are traveling with other people, I would recommend you go up to the other category because you're not saving that much money. Go up or down, either way. You're not saving that much money, and there's no reason to let Disney pick your stateroom in that case.
Yes. Oh my gosh, spoken like a true pro. I could not have said it better. That is awesome advice. And we'll just make these the last couple. Kimberly's asking, I have 2 teen boys. Would you recommend 1 room to save, or should I get 2?
Let's see. I mean, 2 is really nice for those extra bathrooms, but so everybody can get ready at times. I mean, I'm guessing they'll sleep later than you do, teenagers, maybe not. Right. So if you could, I mean, 2 staterooms would be great, but you certainly can fit in 1 if you wanted to.
Yes, absolutely. And then we had a question. Somebody was asking about, are all the doors magnetic? Because they wanted to do the different door decorations. I know sometimes people will worry about the concierge doors being different, and I can't find exactly who asked that, but any advice or insight on that one?
Yes, they are in general, unless you just had a really strange location or something. In general, they are all magnetic except those concierge staterooms. And on the Magic and the Wish, the Magic class, they're just like the other doors. The Dream class in particular, there's an extra panel on the front, I think, of the doors. And so those are not as magnetic. They are still magnetic, but they take you have to use a much stronger magnet to put those up for them to stay. Sometimes they'll go up there, but you'll come back a few hours later and, your magnet's doing this.
Yes. And then I love this question from Jeff. I'm regretting which room I chose now. These suites look awesome. Are you able to upgrade at the port, or can I do that now?
If it's available now, you definitely do it now. Even a little secret here, even if you book IGT and OGT and VGT, if there is something available that's more expensive, sometimes Disney will let you switch. So it's still not even then is it completely out of the question. No guarantees. They say they're not going to, but there are occasions when they will let you spend more money, and up to something else. But if you're in a normal room, absolutely. I mean, even up until 3 days before, you wouldn't have any problem calling and upgrading even if you paid in full. If you wait until you get to the port, there will be good discounts there. And that's how long of my concierge sailings have absolutely been, because we've done great price at the port. But they go quickly, very, very quickly. And there's no guarantee there will be any. I've been on several cruises where I've been one of the first people inside the port, and still there was nothing left to upgrade to. And I've checked immediately, and there's nothing left. So don't wait if you know what you want. If you're okay either way, then wait and take a chance. But if let's say you're going to Alaska and you're in Oceanview and you're hoping to upgrade to a veranda, don't do it unless you'll be just as happy sailing in the Oceanview, because odds are very good there will be no verandas when you get there, and so book the room that you'll be happiest in. Definitely go check once you get there if you want to try to upgrade.
Yeah. And I've even heard of people getting to upgrade once the sailing has started. Maybe, for some reason, somebody didn't make it to the ship and their room is empty. So it's always worth asking the question, but 1000%, like Tammy said, don't book a room just to save in the hopes. Although, like you said too, there's no bad rooms. Disney Cruise Line doesn't do bad rooms. It's not in their best interest to do bad rooms. Oh man, I just want to go on a cruise now. Thank you so much, Tammy. This was incredible, so thorough. And I hope as we were going through, you can start envisioning yourself in one of these staterooms. And if you're struggling with exactly which category, which letter, which number, which location on the ship is going to be best for you and everyone you're sailing with, reach out to Tammy and her team. That is what they are here to do. This is what they love to do. They want to set you up with the best possible vacation. And like we said in the beginning, their planning services are actually free for you to utilize. So reach out, have that conversation, and they can help get rid of some of the stress when it comes to planning and help you get back to enjoying. Tammy, thank you so, so much again. This was awesome. And I don't know about you, but I feel like a suite might be in my future. I need to see some of these rooms. They look so nice. Oh. Well, thank you again, and we will see all y'all on board real soon. Bye, guys.